Jews had not been allowed to leave Germany until more workers were needed to replace those being wiped out by typhus and typhoid in the labor camps. And they'd been allowed to leave with only what they could carry and given a free train ride if they had no luggage, but were required to pay if they wanted to take their suitcases with them. The people packed onto the trains were behaving as though they accepted that treatment as fairly due them, and the more they went along with the Nazi program, the more people wondered if they weren't inferior after all. In the beginning, those being deported were asked to write down a detailed list of their personal possessions and were given a ticket with a number marked down on a list. But this became too time-consuming, so they would simply be promised that their luggage had been put in another car on the train, and the passengers would watch as one of the train cars was stuffed full of everyone's suitcases before they climbed up into one of the passenger cars. The deportees tried to get as many people as possible into one car because they were told that the fare would increase if a quota wasn't met, and since they'd paid everything they had to get their ticket, people welcomed as many as could fit uncomfortably into each train car. They believed they were bound for freedom and were being given a ride safely out of Germany and away from its awful Nuremberg laws. The people running the trains quickly discovered that detaining the passengers and stripping them of their belongings was a gold mine, and because asset seizures looked bad in public, more like common robbery, the Nazis would schedule train stops before reaching the German border where the occupants were told to disembark and were relieved of their personal possessions, and the warehouses at these stops, filling with secreted valuables, would be visited again on the return trip back into Germany. The Nuremberg racial laws turned Jews into offenders who could immediately be sent to the processing centers, and after being arrested and taken in large groups to a concert hall or an outdoor stadium, they were told to sign papers giving up their bank accounts and real estate, or made to stand under guard for 24 hours if they refused. It was explained to them that they were being deported and that it was against the law to take more than 10 marks out of Germany, so their assets were being held in safekeeping until their deportation cases could be heard in the country to which they were going. Anyone who tried to transfer German money to another country had to pay between 50 and 95% in taxes and fees, and the exchange rates were terrible as well, so deportees were allowed to take all the stuff they could carry to sell for cash where they were going, since people did not want to leave without any money at all when they arrived in another country. They were taken to the train station and searched again at the border and given back 10 marks, and the victims refrained from complaining lest the Nazis put a stop to Jews being allowed to leave at all. The Nazis didn't mind German goods walking onto the trains because it made those deported look like money-hungry criminals, lugging satchels full of dinnerware and fancy clocks and jewelry, and when Jews filled out the forms describing their assets, they readily complied, believing it would prove ownership, while the items carefully described were merely a list of what the Germans were seizing. When fleeing Germany became illegal due to the need for more workers in the camps, those caught deserting the fatherland were transported directly to the camps, where they were found to be carrying money and jewels hidden in their clothing and luggage, and having heard rumors of these riches taken from Jews, German policemen eagerly ripped through every Jewish home searching for hidden money and treasure, but usually came back empty-handed or with mere trinkets, and hatred of Jews grew over their being so devious in hiding their vast Jewish wealth.